Good morning, beautiful Firefly people. We have a very different day to yesterday, where we have the high moving over Europe a little bit, and the low pressure is currently sitting over Iceland. We're currently not being affected by any frontal activity, despite what was observed in the nightclub last night. And what we can see here is a very light wind until midday. There's a lot of directional uncertainty, and that becomes a little bit more sensible from kind of 11 o'clock onwards, where we start to see a lot of model convergence, and we can see that the direction is shifting right from midday onwards, with quite a big directional change at somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock. This is reasonably consistent around a lot of the models, and you can also see the build is incredibly clear from 3 gusting 5 in the morning to 5 gusting 7, and moving on to 13 gusting 16 in the afternoon. We have some pretty good evidence of that on the graphs, and we can see the pretty steady build from midday onwards, and also the directional stability starting to come in from 2 o'clock onwards. And yeah, before that, it looks like it's cutting some pretty funky shapes, much like last night at the disco. In terms of wind shear, we can see that it's reasonably well mixed all day. Speed-wise, not really changing much, and directionally really quite unstable in the morning, and you can kind of see it disappearing off to kind of like an 80-degree veer, which is obviously reasonably unsaleable. And then from kind of midday and into the afternoon, we see a lot less directional shear, which means the whole sailing area is a lot less random. Sea state's generally quite flat. We will see it building from the kind of northwest, which obviously has minimal fetch, and that will be a little bit messy, and should be quite short and sharp in comparison to the longer waves that we've been experiencing, but also it just hasn't got that fetch to develop. My confidence level, obviously we can see that the morning is as close as a random number generator as you can get, so I really don't believe that there is much confidence there, and I won't even try to predict it. However, in the afternoon, we can see a lot of model convergence, a lot of stability in that breeze. However, there is a reasonable amount of CAPE, which is your convective available potential energy, which gives you the potential for some slightly larger squalls, and also the chance of showers and generally larger gusts. By the looks of it, it's got a lot of capping on it, so it's not going to produce squalls in the same way, and it will be a lot more stable than it could be. However, it is worth noting that there may be some smaller cells with larger gusts than that. The high cloud is increasing in the early afternoon, and that can be linked to the stability and the build. And generally, it's quite a dry air column compared to what we've had, so it will feel a little bit drier, a little bit hotter, and generally quite comfortable. We talked about the wind trend, the venue guide. You're very welcome to look at. The geography is reasonably irrelevant to the morning because the whole thing is random, and the mid-afternoon, it's worth looking at the west-northwesterly and trying to understand what we're going to get with the slightly shiftier and patchy pressure influenced by the land. Apart from that, we have obviously the uncertainty of the timing of this build, so it may come an hour or two earlier, but I highly doubt, whereas it might come a little bit later and the stability might be a little bit longer to kind of onset, just because of the kind of geography and the heating involved. So that's highly dependent on that cloud building. Looking forward to tomorrow, we are seeing a little bit more confidence. So west southwest, and then moving to a westerly 9 gusting 13 knots in the afternoon, which is really really quite nice. So hopefully we'll get a couple of really good races in today and another couple tomorrow, and I'll see you later at the club.